Thank you, Ben, and thank you for the introduction for the afternoon and the introduction to my presentation, which is coming in a few seconds. While waiting, so I'm Espen, CTO in Allente, chairman of Nordic Counter Protection, and since it's that time of year, soon to be Easter, I have a small Easter egg hidden in the presentation. Something fun me and my designer figured out while making this one. So to kick it off, let me first tell you a little bit about Allente. Today, we are approximately 1 million plus subscribers. Of course, we are facing structural decline in parts of our business. DTH, for instance, are being challenged left, right, and center. Still, we managed to deliver our first growth quarter in the fourth quarter of 2022 last year. Also, 8,000 plus B2B customers. TV is our core. So satellite TV, IPTV, OTT, and then we have a small business in Sweden with broadband. We bundle and deliver content from all major local players and also a select global partners that we distribute across the Nordics. And to bring you a little bit on our journey so far. Starting, Allente was born May 6th, 2020 as a merger between Viasat Consumer and Canal that formed Allente. Then we had a pretty busy period merging the companies. And as the CTO, I can tell you it's been a ride. Still, we launched April 2021, our first OTT streaming package in Denmark. We used Denmark as a launch country to test, learn, pivot, and develop the product further. Then we launched in Norway, June last year, and Sweden following in October last year. July 21, we did another test, learn, and pivot, launching our new B2B hospitality service, basically modernizing how we deliver TV experience across in hotel rooms across the Nordics. So what we want to do is to make it more cheaper, more efficient for the hotels to get it on board. And we want to deliver the same user experience when you are in a hotel room as what you have at home. December 21, the biggest undertaking of Allente was delivered, finalized. 320,000 dishes spread across the entire Nordics was flipped from 5 degrees east to 1 degree west. It's basically just a small, boop, but a major undertaking. May 22, we launched our first Allente-built set-top box, the Allente One, also becoming the first operator to launch with the Google Common Broadcast Stack, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. And then almost finalizing our merger journey. February 23, 2 months ago, 1.5 months ago, we launched the Allente Streaming Hub, which is basically a small streaming dongle built together with 3SS and Say Robotics, running on Google TV. Then I told you about the Allente One set box. This is the king of our hardware. It's built a hybrid set box for DTH, IPTV, and OTT. And what we wanted to achieve is having an efficient hardware to deliver to our customers, so we can use the same hardware to any customer. Still build the hardware in an efficient way as possible. It supports both connected and non-connected mode. It's an Android TV set-top box. So they're a little bit tweaked to get it to work when you don't have internet. But a lot of our customers, DTH customers especially, don't have internet. So it's something that we needed to support. We managed to do so, also running on Android TV. B2C and B2B, it supports both. So we can use it in different B2B contexts. For instance, pubs and clubs, some hospitality services, and so on and so forth. The the box, as I said, is running also on Google Common Broadcast Stack. And the reason for that is kind of the culture that we have built in Allente, always looking for innovations, always looking for opportunities to build value. Value for customers and value for our business. With Google Common Broadcast Stack, we get to do that because all the technical heavy lifting on conditional access, on the middleware integrations are already done. We can spend our time on delivering awesome user experience to our customers and find new ways of lifting up that content that our customers actually want to watch. The other thing with Google Common Broadcast Stack is that it opens an ocean of new opportunities for advertising, different ways of advertising, also for linear TV. It's awesome for our customers and for our partners. Then, as I told you, we launched the Allente Streaming Hub in February. It's primarily built for our OTT customers, but can also be used by DTH customers, IPTV customers, broadband customers, and B2B customers. So it's built on the same principles, but we have the Google TV running on it, so the customers also get access to the Google experience. And once again, we can deliver hardware efficiently to our customers, focus on the user experience, focus on the content, and we get the assistance from Google to deliver the hardware and the middleware. Then, applications. Big part of our product portfolio. We are to launch new applications with the same principle. So some of it have already been out in market for a while. Test, learn, pivot, improve. In April, new applications will replace the old ones that are already in the market, where we built our entire backend to further expand the way we are delivering content and aggregation to our customers in all segments. And that's what I want to show you now, the experience that we are actually going to deliver. So getting into the Allente experience, we try to connect it to our brand as much as possible. So becoming the king of entertainment is what we communicate to our customers, not only in TV commercials, but also when customers enter into our products. Small hint, here's the Easter egg. I'll give you a few seconds to pick up your phone. Just for the fun of it. When you get into the home screen of the application, it is all about the content. And we are mixing curation, so a lot of the content is curated by our content curation team, and personalization. We personalize in 2 dimensions, within the stripes and within the page. So me as a little bit, I love The Last of Us, by the way. It's a fantastic series. I would like that, and I would love to see more recommendations similar to that one. So I will get that, not only within the stripes, but also within the pages. If I would have small children at home, we would most likely have a totally different home screen than me, as I only have teenage daughters. So they don't watch kids' TV anymore. The player is also optimized for the content that you are able to watch. So the live TV player is different from the VOD player, for instance. It has different parameters, different traits that we need to support, also different functionality, and the user is expecting different kinds of things. As you also can see here, the mini APG is a critical part of the live TV player, where the user can see what is coming next on TV, what is on TV now, what has been on TV. So if we have the catch-up content available, the user can browse backwards and go back to that catch-up assets. Then, one of the big problems, at least what we have seen, is that customers get a little bit of screen blindness if everything looks the same. So we try to mix up a little bit how things look and how things are presented on the screen. And we have put up a target for ourselves that the user should find something to watch within 120 seconds. If the user needs more time than that to find something to watch, they're likely to think, I didn't find anything, there's nothing to watch on TV today. And they will move on to a different service or doing something else. Our test so far shows that our customers are finding something to watch in our service in between 90 and 150 seconds. So some months we are within the KPI, other months a little bit depending on what's on TV, not doing that good job. But then we're learning from it, pivoting and improving. So another example on different ways of presenting content. Also here. So we have a lot of flexibility in the platform. And then we mix. Since we're delivering linear TV, ingested VOD content, ingested metadata, third-party applications, everything bundled in the products to our customers. We're also showing off apps directly from our application so the customer can jump to another application from ours that they have access to. The benefit for the customer is that they get one login. So everything is connected to the Allente ID. The user can go into Viaplay and get directly into the service, one login. And then we also deep link to content, for instance, from Viaplay. So instead of watch now, it's watch now on Viaplay, and it goes directly to the Viaplay content in the Viaplay app. Other thing that we are experimenting a little bit with is what we call content worlds. So building up larger areas of content. In this example, action area, where we gather everything action in one area of the application or of the service. We can also take it a little bit further. Big part of our product portfolio is sports. So building up content worlds with sports. So you can easily get access to what are the next matches? What matches have already been played? You can follow your teams. You can find applications or third-party services with related content, or even connected with other types of content. So for the FIFA World Cup, football documentaries and similar would be super interesting for the people interested in FIFA World Cup. You can gather everything of that inside one area. I think that was it, actually. Thank you.
Questions for John Espen?
Hi, Brendan from RDK Management. Just wondering, did you face any challenges migrating from your legacy broadcast stack onto the Google Common Broadcast Stack?
No, clean cut. So we went from our legacy broadcast stacks and just jumping over to the Google Common Broadcast Stack. So, and then keeping the legacy backwards. Of course, there's a little bit more operational maintenance for the legacy parts than we need to do on the Allente One set-top box, but it's manageable.
I thought the question was going to be, why didn't you choose RDK? Questions? Down here?
Ingmar Spitaro. Going into the field of B2B hospitality services, when dealing with those platforms, you are logged in. How do you deal with the personal information of the customer who will leave the hotel room on the next morning?
It's an integration with hospitalities or the hotels, for instance. So when the customer check out from the room, it's white. Yeah. No. So you can do, there's two optionalities. Either log in and get access to your own content that you have at home, or you can use it anonymously, so you get access to what is offered by the hotel.
Other questions for John Espen? Yeah.
Gabriel Cosgrave, Xperi. John Espen, just wondering, you didn't mention monetization. Most people that have stood up have talked about some form of monetization on your platform or on your new solutions. Are you doing anything there?
To quote our Chief Content Acquisition Officer earlier today, he said that content aggregation was super simple because he didn't need to relate to it, because that was my job. So monetization is super easy to relate to because it's not my job. No, kidding. Of course. So what we have been experimenting with for quite some time is kind of different ways of upselling within our product ecosystem. So for instance, the hospitality app could be used as a leads generator for B2C. When getting into any of our areas, you should have the possibility to upgrade if you don't have access to a third-party service or a piece of content. It's kind of striking the right balance, because you don't want to float too much content the user don't have access to either. Because then you get annoyed. I don't have access to this. Why don't they have the content that I have access to? So balance. But obviously monetization is a big part of kind of the products and platforms that we are developing. Then the next part is advertising. So there we are doing a couple of things already. So we're doing dynamic DI, ad insertion, thank you, for a couple of broadcasters. And then the Google CBS also gives us the opportunity to test addressable TV on the satellite signal, which I think we would like to do at some point.
So are you making money from addressable advertising today?
No.
When will you make money from it?
Our challenge is that we only license content. We don't own content.
Doesn't stop you doing a deal to take a rev share on the ads.
It doesn't. But that's. You should have asked Mikke that question earlier today.
I wasn't here for him. You're the guy here now.
Yeah. No, it is an opportunity, but I think it's also a partnership together with our broadcasters, and we want to be a good partner together with them and kind of find solutions. They are also being pressured from all sides of the business, and it's all about striking that balance.
One more, because we are out of time.
Thank you. Sean from Liberty Global. Great dongle, great operating system, love it. But as you know, the smart TVs are rising, right? And the people are using TV directly more versus dongle set-top boxes. So with the new product, like what's your thought on that? Is it a threat? You know, what's your advantage compared to smart TVs, etc.?
It's a really good question. I think we have to recognize that a lot of people don't have the newest and greatest smart TVs out in the market. Those will prefer a cheaper dongle to connect to the TV or to make their TV smart. But we also do partnerships with Samsung and LG and the Smart TV manufacturers to deliver the same experience there as we do on other devices. So applications are also available there, part of the service.
Sean Espen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. So if I could have my panelists, oh, they're here already. Hello, everyone. Right, okay, so I'm not going to introduce the panelists. They're going to do that themselves. So I'll just go along in turn and ask you to introduce yourselves and the clicker. Where's the clicker, Ben? Has anyone got the clicker? John Espen had it. John Espen, you still here? You haven't got it? The clicker? Oh, sorry. Okay, there you go. Okay, move that along. Okay. Right, so we'll just introduce yourselves in turn and just tell us what you do at your company. So Ken, let's start with you.
Sure. Ken Morse, work for Sky, and right now responsible for delivering applications across all of the Sky propositions. So whether that's Q, Glass, and also working across Chromecast with the application deployments that we do there. And then there's a little product coming up that we teased back in October, which was the smart camera that's coming out soon.
Okay, Jason?
Hi, Jason Briggs. I'm with RDK. I oversee a group that manages the RDK as an open source project for the global community. So my team essentially manages all of the code releases for the RDK for both video and broadband, as well as tools, support, member events, and all of that. So it's classic open source project.
Okay, and John at the end.
I'm John Jelly, so I'm SVP of Product and UX for Peacock, which is not only a product in the US, but also, which hopefully you may have heard of, but it hasn't yet reached these shores, but it is a platform as well. So it supports Sky Showtime and just announced JV in Africa with Showmax. So we're looking at both how to create a great premium NBC Universal service in the US, but also how to extend that same app across multiple territories.
Okay, thank you. So Jason, let's start with you then. For anyone that's not familiar, just tell us what RDK is, what it isn't, and you know, the problem it was invented to solve.
Yeah, sure. So RDK is essentially a middleware stack for both video devices and broadband devices. And it was really originated back in 2012, 2013, originally as a video stack to solve the problems that many of the operators were seeing at the time, where they needed to make a change to one stack, and that change then needed to be ported to another stack on another device and another stack on another device. And it was really getting in the way of kind of innovation and new product development. So idea at the time was to publish an open stack for all video set-top boxes and publish it to the industry and let everyone collaborate and use that stack. Since that time, it's kind of evolved to RDK Broadband. So that came in 2015. So that was same concept, but for the Wi-Fi gateway in the home, and then it's since evolved since then to cameras as well a couple of years ago. I would say that's what it is. What it isn't. So we're essentially an enabling layer on top of the silicon. So it's an enabling enabling platform to support any sort of operator service or platform. Where we draw the line on this is more in the user experience. So we have enabling technologies, and then the operators take that and develop what we call a differentiated user experience. So when we look at the technologies we put in the stack, anything that's common, that should be standardized, those are things we bring into the RDK and publish in a standardized way, so we can all use the same technology. But then we leave the upper part of the stack really for innovation. So any sort of user experience, how you bundle and package applications, how you put a voice command, voice remote, all of that stuff we leave intentionally to the operators, and that was kind of by design and by request of the operators. And so on top of that, it's an open source, so it's available at no cost in the community, and that's what I would say. Yeah.
Okay, and decent growth figures based on last year. So can you just talk us through that? I think you've got some visuals showing the growth trajectory.
Yeah, I think, which slide do we have? Oh, this one here. This is our guiding principles, but we've experienced quite a bit of growth. So last year we announced.
The next slide is the growth one.
Yeah, I think the next. There we go. Perfect. So we eclipsed 100 million devices running RDK, both video, broadband, and camera last year. We also have over 600 companies, well over 600 companies now involved in the community. That was up from 500 a year before that. So pretty good growth in both technology companies leaning into the open source project as well as devices. A number of operators deploying all throughout the world. And then finally, the thing I like the most is really kind of a measure of engagement, so community engagement within the code itself. And so it's maybe a pet number for me, but how many times do people actually download the code? And it's a kind of a bellwether for usage. And so we're at north of 90 million downloads in a given year across the stack. So I think overall, great, healthy community that are also contributing back thousands of code improvements to us every single year. So I think a great, vibrant community, a lot of growth we've seen over the last many years.
Okay, and John, I mean, we're used to having people on these panels talking about RDK who are operators with set-top boxes and next-gen devices. You're coming at this from a different angle as a content owner. And I mean, tell us what the relevance of RDK is to you.
Yeah, so when we started, we built Peacock on a React JavaScript platform. And the challenge that we face is, as you're all probably familiar with, you're distributing across many, many devices. And some of those are low-powered, and some of those are high-powered. And actually, the vast majority of platforms, maybe outside of Apple, have a mixture of those. And so if you're somebody like me who's really trying to focus on a premium user experience that's going to keep people watching for longer, performance is critical to that, and I'll come on to some of the stats on that in a minute. But our focus is really on how to create a great user experience with rich animations, with video first. And when we launched, we found that actually that wasn't possible on all devices, particularly the low-power devices. And Lightning has been this open source, high-performance framework that we can use to create an experience across all of these devices. One app, essentially leveraging this incredible platform in my eyes that can generate a user experience that is meeting expectations of customers who are really expecting the most high performance experiences. And we see that reflected in the business metrics that I look at, things like viewing time and repertoire and frequency and how much they come back. So really the relevance for me is in having a stack and having a platform that we can build once, deploy quickly across multiple devices, and supports really the best experience, even on the oldest device, even on the most low-powered device that a customer might have.
Okay, and when you talk about devices, are we talking about television sets here?
Yes, we're talking about television sets. We're talking about, from LG to Samsung to Android to many of the plethora of set-top boxes that exist in the US, and it is a fragmented market. And so having the ability to, really even deal with exotic devices, things like the LG Wand, or more constrained platforms like PlayStation, which don't necessarily have the memory that you need to really sort of easily generate a great user experience. Lightning has enabled us to really cope with that and, in fact, thrive on those platforms.
Okay. So Ken, I mean, tell us what you're doing at Sky. I mean, obviously, RDK, as everyone knows, has its origins in Comcast. Sky and Comcast are part of the same family now. I mean, just talk us through what you're using RDK for.
Sure. It goes a little bit further back than that. You remember RDKB was, I was responsible for giving him 1 million lines of code to start off RDKB.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Seems to be working out. At Sky, we started working with RDK, I would say, probably 4 years ago. Part of it was, gets to some of the things that Jason mentioned, which is getting availability of chipsets of functionality off the shelf that enabled us to go quicker in the areas that we cared about. We were pivoting at the time to an all-IP delivery environment, and so we started off with a couple of pucks that we put out in Germany and Italy using RDKV, and then off of that, we then built along the lines of some of the things that John was saying in terms of driving a lot of our incremental user experience using Lightning as part of the framework. So all of our internal apps are developed using Lightning. So anyone who's been watching Formula One on Sky recently, and you've now got all the driver cams and stuff, all the whole sports recap app is done in Lightning as an example. And then we did a much bigger collaboration with Chromecast, which resulted in Sky Glass, which came out in October 21. And then taking that platform with RDK as an integral part of that, and taking that around the world. Yeah, going to Foxtel, going to MultiChoice, and actually going back into Comcast as well. So the aggregated experience that we've developed on top of RDK, as Jason said, is kind of separable, and so that's now going back into Comcast as well. And then on the broadband side, we embraced RDKB. First product shipped, I want to say 3 years ago in Italy, one of our broadband routers. And then we've had multiple updates to that has come courtesy of the RDK community. And then we've got another product coming out this year. So the other piece, just to finish, is Firebolt, which for us is on top of RDK, we drive a lot of web app driven stuff for some native things as well with your YouTubes and your Netflixes. But the majority of the apps are web apps. But there was no standardized interface by which they could do tighter integration with the platform. When you look at something like Sky Glass, you actually don't know you're going into Disney Plus to play back The Mandalorian as an example. It's seamless in terms of how you get in there. And the way we came through that is some of the design points in Firebolt, but it provides this consistent API. So the big partners like Disney, Prime, Paramount, Apple have all developed to Firebolt. And so that allows us to take that across all of the platforms where RDK is available.
Okay, now if anyone's interested in that global syndication program, Michelle Rodzilinski from Sky is in here tomorrow, and she's talking about the whole syndication program. So Foxtel and MultiChoice, as Ken mentioned, have already taken that up. So, and in terms of the benefits, Ken, just talk us through the key benefits then from all this experience you have with RDK.
Yeah, so to be honest, a ready-made, ready-to-go stack. We're obviously in a fortunate position where we're with Comcast as our owner as well, which is in terms of getting requirements in, working with the teams. We get very quick turnaround in access to capabilities, but I think that's true for the community as a whole. And to be honest, we're getting a quality deliverable every 30 days. You know, we're dropping a new release to our customers every 30 days, and that's driven by updates in the RDK platform, but then also updates in the aggregated experience, other capabilities across the whole end-to-end solution. So for us, it really is about giving us better time to market, giving us better quality, because that capability is going all over the place. We get to leverage from that. And then also inheriting a lot of the test strategies and tooling and everything else that Jason mentioned at the front that just gives us, you know, that better quality as well as time to market.
Okay. And John, I mean, we talked about your sort of app development. Now, is that based on the Lightning App software framework? When we talk about RDK for apps, for content owners, is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Essentially, it's, you know, when we're developing apps, we have teams focused in different areas. And so we're really trying to maximize the learnings across multiple devices. So if we launch a new feature on one app, on one device, if it does well in an A/B test, we want to deploy it. And having the benefit of a single stack, which is what Lightning's supporting, enables us really to bring those enhancements a little bit, as Ken was saying, to customers very quickly. And you know, the real thing about Lightning is it's designed for performance for big screens. So React was not designed for TV. Lightning is, and you see that really in every part of how a software engineer uses it. They can, if they want to, they can go in and change the render, change the animations. But essentially, what comes out of the box is something that's really quick and easy to use, ready to pick up. And I think we found that, you know, from a standing start, we brought the whole team, 60, 70 engineers working on Lightning, up to speed, you know, in a very short period of time. So it's been one of these journeys for us over the last, we launched in 2020, and, you know, within a year and a half or so, we'd moved all of those apps over to Lightning.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I was going to chime in a little bit with Lightning. So the way we look at in the RDK community and the relevant and kind of the relevance to Lightning is we're always looking for new technologies that advance the operator experience. So we're always looking for problem sets we need to solve, and typically we solve these through contributions from the thousands of engineers that are in the RDK community. And in the case of Lightning, we discovered that, you know, the performance of apps is critical, obviously, but we're designing for a very, very low-powered set-top box. So a lot of the apps in the industry, especially HTML5, were designed for you know, PCs and phones and things with high horsepower. And really, in our in our area of the world, we're designing really for very, very low horsepower devices. So the question we were trying to ask is how can you solve for the low performance problem, the low, in certain cases, RAM problem you have on a lot of these devices, but still deliver kind of like a native-like performance into applications. And that's really where Lightning kind of came to be. We've adopted it as kind of our framework because it works very, very well for our devices. It could work on a variety of any web browsers. It's not just RDK. We've just adopted it because we thought it was very, very interesting technology. And it, again, it fits our operator needs. It runs right on the browser that we publish, and so that's why that's kind of the tie-in and why we've adopted it. And then I'm pleased to see others actually using it to their advantage.
And we've taken it all the way, to give you an example, so for the geeks, Lightning is WebGL JavaScript, basically, which gives you the great performance. And we've got devices in the field that have been there since 2016. The chipsets probably originated in 2014, so they're coming up on 10 years. And we're able to take applications running in Lightning, take them all the way back to those platforms. So as an example, when we engaged with Apple TV to get them on the platform, we told them our preference, which is Lightning. That will make your life easier. You can do HTML2. And amazingly, Apple came back and did a Lightning implementation of Apple TV, which was fantastic, and allowed that to run across all of our platforms and all of Comcast platforms.
Yeah, and that seems to be an important point. I think that Lightning doesn't have to be on an RDK box, does it? So it's a separate life. It has a life of its own.
Yeah. It's a perfect example of where we've taken a technology that maybe falls outside of the middleware stack itself and brought it in to adopt for something that we've done. We also bring in the WebKit browser, that we've adopted that. Again, we work with the WebKit community. We have a version of that called WebKit Pure Embedded, which is a very low, high performance but low footprint browser that we use in the RDK. But again, it's a larger community outside of what we use. We just pick and choose the right technologies that meet the needs of the operators we serve.
Okay.
Yeah, and speaking as an operator, you have a lot of sunk investment out there in terms of devices that have been around for ages. You don't want to have to force lift or replace every device out there. So it's kind of, if at the top layers, you can make that work across every device, and then as you go down, you optimize for all new platforms where we're using RDK as an example.
Okay. Now, we've been talking about the performance of this wonderful Lightning solution. So, John, I know you have had a lot of experience with this, so why don't you talk us through that? And I know you've got some visuals as well.
Yeah, I've got some visuals. Hopefully we'll bring it to life a little bit. So I think what I'm going to show here really is the evolution of Peacock since we launched. And so this shows that we based it actually originally on the Now TV platform. And over time, introduced more and richer visuals, which you'll have seen probably from a number of these presentations today, and brought in video. So really the browse experience becomes where you're watching as well. So it's no longer just images and stills. It's now really bringing and flattening the experience so your watch actions happen here and right on the browse page. So you don't have to go in and out of pages. But of course, to do that actually puts a lot of effort onto a lot of performance needed. And when we started, we tested our initial React builds with users, and they weren't always that pleased. And we've got one of them here you can hear talking about it.
Sometimes it takes a second. Peacock.
How is San Mateo the owner of the fluffy?
Please hold. Oh, I thought a minute was going to be a long time, but it's taking a minute to get here.
And this is the long time to load I was talking about. It's not ridiculously long, but it's a little bit longer than other apps.
So when we looked at this, we thought, well, this is obviously not the experience we want. And these are low-powered devices. So these are devices that don't have a lot of RAM, they don't have a lot of memory, and the load time getting into the app is hard. So when we shifted to the Lightning app, we actually cut the startup times on these low-powered devices by 40%. Even on the high-powered devices, we reduced it by 25%. And the impact was actually really tangible. And so I'm just going to show you here. This is the same device that these customers were using. This is the loading screen that we captured on that same device, reducing it really down to 40 or even more on some devices lower. So you go from a long period where people are having to, as they bounce in and out of apps, make a decision about what to watch, really shortening that experience, taking them straight in. And it's not just load times. We also see a lot of benefit around animations. And animations are really important, partly because they actually help disguise some of the loading that happens even in the most high-performance devices. And a lot of performance is about perception. So animations that come on and guide you through the app. We now have these apps that are really complicated in terms of how they move you between content, playing in this top screen, playing as you move down the page. And so, as you can see here, as we move in and out, we're bringing really quite high-performance animations into even these low-powered devices. So you can move between profiles in this example. You can bring up and cycle through the highlights, bringing in those animations, navigating you between them. Previously, what you had was essentially a series of stills that you're moving between, and we found that users get quite confused by that. You can see the progressive loading here as you're moving down the page. So these benefits had real tangible business benefits, and I think that's the thing really to take away here, is we did an A/B test of these two experiences on the same device, and we saw between 20 and 30% improvements in the amount of viewing time per session. So users actually are consuming more because of the speed improvements that you're seeing on these devices. Really as simple as that. And so clearly we look at that kind of improvement as a massive win because we're trying to drive engagement. A big part of my job is in driving engagement across the whole experience, from content discovery through to viewing and watching the next thing. And I think one big learning for me is just the critical importance of performance on every type of device. You cannot say, well, it's a low-power device, we don't mind about it. A lot of devices are low-powered, and so really dealing with that experience is something that we found a lot of value from Lightning over the last year or two.
Okay, that's great. And very brave of you to show that original user experience. Okay, so Ken, tell us a bit more about Sky Glass. And, first of all, for anyone that's not familiar, is Sky Glass an OS and a UX, or is it a television set? What?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to have trouble answering that one because we use the terms all over the place. So one thing that we've standardized on recently is a term called Entertainment OS, which it seems like a lot of others are starting to call things OSs now. Everything's an OS. But it's not just about an OS in the typical sense of, what's under the covers or whatever on the device. It's about the whole operating environment. So everything on the back end, from metadata ingest, personal recommendations, voice control, the works. So the focus that we have today is building Entertainment OS, then leveraging that across into the different propositions, of which Glass is but one. There's the Chromecast ones, the syndication ones you'll hear more about tomorrow. And for us, where we're really focused is on that user experience. Yeah, it's kind of the kind of things that John was talking about in terms of where we can get, that connection with the customer. How can we make access to content seamless? Because, historically, if you look at like a Sky Q as an example, you'd have a piece of content that was in a third-party app. You'd wait 10 to 15 seconds for the app to load. It would be a bit clunky experience. On Glass, with Firebolt, we were able to, in fact, a lot of what's in Firebolt was driven by our end-user requirements that we put together for the product of Glass to enable apps to actually be put into suspend state and stay in memory. So you have this very seamless access when you click on a tile, whether it be Mandalorian, whether it be something into our ingested Peacock content, whatever it be, you've got instant access to it. And that makes the whole difference for us, because as we go forward with Glass, it's a very app-centric product. Yeah, it's not where we're ingesting every piece of content like we did on the Sky Q platform. And so having that seamless capability, being able to have things like resume points come from the app back up into the core user experience is critical, because that's what people want to see. When they see their continue watching rail, it's continue watching for everything they have access to on that platform, not just the Sky content, but what's in Netflix, what's in Paramount, what's in whatever that we've got there. And then making it very media rich. So pretty much with the vast majority of partners, we're pulling in all their metadata as well. So that then feeds in along with performance metrics that we get out of apps. Historically, we would know when an app launched and when an app quit. What happened in between there, we had no idea. Now with Firebolt, we actually, and with agreements with the partners, we have much better insight into that. So we have stuff we need for resume points, but also in terms of playback metrics, knowing the quality of playback, it's holding at the top bitrate layer, all those good things. So for us, it's that integrated experience, which is resounding really well with the customers at the moment.
That's much needed as well. Okay, so Jason, let's talk about telemetry and data. I mean, it might not excite everybody, but I know you love it, so let's go.
No, it's it's not an exciting topic, but it's a valuable topic underneath the hood. And so within RDK, we've designed kind of a common telemetry module between video and broadband, so that when service providers potentially use both, they can get a common way of pulling data off the device. And data, in kind of in our opinion, is kind of the lifeblood of providing service to customers. So knowing how the devices perform, knowing when apps crash, knowing when you have an app performance and maybe it's the Wi-Fi connection in your home. All of that kind of information is gold as an operator to making sure that you can actually tweak and improve the customer experience. So it's, like I said, it's not a super exciting topic, but it's actually very, very valuable to all the operators, and it's something that we push quite a bit from RDK as a benefit of having the RDK platform.
And a lot of that data, as an example at Sky, and I know at Comcast as well, rolls up into just one measure that we call PEM that we measure every week to know how our platform is doing. And that's all based on, or vastly based on, the telemetry data that's coming out of RDK.
Okay, and I think one of the important points about your telemetry and data is that it's consistent across all RDK software profiles. So, you know, for video, broadband, even cameras.
Yeah, it's a common data set. So if you can learn the data set for the video devices, you can do it in the broadband devices, but you bring it back to a central point. And I think probably maybe one of the biggest areas of maybe issue for the operators is you might have siloed data repositories all throughout your devices. If you have different stacks and things like that, that just adds more complexity in terms of managing what's going on. And you probably get then situations where you have people looking at one set of data and then other people looking at another set of data, and then the correlation becomes problematic. So, you know, we think having that kind of common way of pulling data off of devices is a prime benefit.
Okay. Yeah. Now, this question's for anyone. I don't want to spend too long on it, but there is this perception that RDK is for big operators who have great big development teams or engineering teams, and that Android TV is a bit more ready to go, ready package, got a library of apps ready and waiting. I mean, do you think that's a misperception? I mean, just give us your views on that very quickly.
You want me to start?
Start with you, Jason. Yeah.
Well, I'll give an operator view, which is we take a delivery of RDK, we run it through our integrated test for the whole stack, and we release it. I haven't got, or Sky, more importantly, hasn't got a ton of engineers working on RDK. Where we're focused is on the stuff above and around, where we actually drive differentiation in our product. So whilst we've got some architects who work very tightly with the RDK team to drive new features, new capabilities, in terms of development, we have very few. I think the place where that's maybe a little different is on the RDKB side, where we do some contributions and things like that. But on the video side, no, from my perspective, it's ready to go, and I think that's part of just the whole community of other operators driving in requirements that get internalized and prioritized, and you know, we have what we need when we need it.
Okay, and John, is it easy from a content owner point of view, app development?
Yeah, I mean, I think just to give you an example, I have a team that's focused on prototyping, so sort of design engineering teams. They're taking designs and bringing them to life. We actually trained up that whole team who had no experience in Lightning in really a matter of months to get them to position so they could contribute code to the app and run those tests as A/B tests within the platform. So you're really merging product design and development into app development. And that kind of ability, I think, just speaks to it's not challenging. You know, it really has been easy. And I think we've taken the opportunity to create a really clean code base as well as part of moving to Lightning, which the platform is enabling.
Yeah, my 2 cents is, look, it's an open source community, so you can get as involved in the code or as little involved in the code as you want. So some operators have decided to put engineering teams to help contribute back. They want to be very, very active in the core code development, and that's great. There's also population of providers that, look, they just want it done. Can you just ship us a box? So it was a couple of years ago, we created a program called the Video Accelerator Program. And that program is just as you would imagine. It's a set-top box, RDK pre-integrated, ready to go, plug it in and let it go. And that's actually been very positively received by other operators in the community that says, look, I want to have minimal engineering on the platform. I want to actually repurpose my engineering and put it up towards the user experience, because I think that's where my management sees me contributing, and that's what the customer sees, and that's where we want to put more of our effort, which to me is absolutely fine. So we've kind of created the Video Accelerator Program. We've created some certification suites around RDK to show that you have implemented it the right way, or the way we had designed it. And in fact, I kind of challenged my team with this Video Accelerator. I'm like, I need one in my office, and I want to see updates every single month, and I want to see performance issues resolved, and I want to see it better. And sure enough, as time goes on, when you see it, you can actually see it get better. So yeah, I think from our perspective, we just tailor to both sides of the marketplace.
I think also,
go ahead. Sorry, John.
Sorry, Ken. Don't underestimate the power of open source. Developers like working with open source. They like contributing code. It actually creates great morale. So I think there is an element there of just, you've got a choice. You can work. It could be a commercial system, or it could be an open source system. And I think there is some value there. That's definitely...
Yeah, and the last thing I was just going to add was I don't think we could have done the level of tight integration with major applications on Android, because the interfaces just aren't there for the level that we did with Firebolt. We wouldn't be able to deliver that kind of integrated experience. We've certainly looked at it, and it just didn't hit the mark for us, unfortunately.
Okay, now we've only got a few minutes left, so Jason, I must ask you about RDKB, because obviously that's the other big kind of branch of all this. Just talk us through it very quickly, the key benefits, the growth, etc.
Yeah, first of all, thanks to Ken for contributing that. So RDKB was contributed back in, I think, 2015 timeframe from Cisco at the time, where Ken was working. It was a complete contribution of the broadband stack, which is pretty incredible. And so that was our basis for RDKB. We had a ready-made install base on that. And so, the RDKB has a bit of a different value point, and that is, if you're an operator, chances are you're going to have multiple access networks. Usually you could be coming from cable to fiber, cable to fixed wireless. You could be coming to DSL to fiber, DSL to fixed wireless. But the common place is you have multiple versions of these, especially through acquisitions. And so the problem set they have in that side is, can I get a common stack across all gateways? And that's important because at the end of the day, they're going to want to differentiate their broadband service. In certain markets, you've got maybe 2 fiber providers, and which one's better? I mean, which one, and how do you differentiate? You can't differentiate on speed. Quality is a bit of a, it's a bit of a subjective thing. But from a consumer standpoint, if you can put advanced services on top of your broadband, well, then you're talking. Better Wi-Fi performance, better mesh performance. All of that is really matters on the broadband side. So, our focus for RDKB is really to create the common platform. We've got a version for DOCSIS. Actually, I shouldn't say the version, it's the same version, but it's got a DOCSIS plugin, it's got a DSL plugin, it's got a PON plugin, and we actually now have a contribution coming in from major telco for fixed wireless. And so we now have common solution across all of these, and then at the top side of the stack, we're looking at what I would call apps, and I'll use it very loosely in broadband, but I think the concept of integrating services or apps on broadband is going to become more and more important as you're an operator and you need to differentiate your service, and it's going to be increasingly difficult with multiple providers out there. So that's how I would frame up RDKB.
Great. Okay. Now, I'll apologise now. We're not going to have time for audience questions on this one, because I've got one more question that I know we should ask, and this is about sort of things that excite you moving ahead, because we know about the challenges with the sort of financial headwinds and cost of living, etc. So I want something from each of you that excites you, new market opportunities or product opportunities. And let's start with you, John, because I know you've been working on something and you've got a video to show us of a new experience. Let's do that.
Yeah, so I think, we doubled in size last year to more than 20 million subscribers. And when you have, subscribers on the platform, getting them to discover content is your first challenge. We talked about some of that in terms of the UX and the interface. But actually, just as important is getting them to stick around whilst they're viewing and engage whilst they're viewing. And for me, the really exciting opportunity is actually thinking about the video player as the next kind of canvas for interaction. So we now see the expectation is, whilst you're browsing and finding content, you can interact, you can feel highly immersed in that content with video playback. In a way, the challenge is almost flipping around. So once you're in playback, you want to bring discovery into playback. You want to bring interaction into playback. And actually, that is another element, which is the kind of flexibility and planning that we think Lightning will enable us to do. And we're rolling out a feature, which I'll give you a preview of here, called Choose Your Reality, which is actually rolling out this week on its first devices, and we'll expand after that. And how it works is whilst you're watching a show, in this case, it's The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, an original, one of the Peacock originals. You'll see there on the, oh, I think we lost the video there for a second. Let's try that again. So you see here, there's the timeline. You can see these marker points. These are the options to really go deeper. So as you're watching, here that the housewives are having a conversation, you have an alert saying, get ready for an interactive scene. And what this is really unlocking is the ability to sort of telescope into the content. And in this example, see what others in the room are really thinking. So we've actually partnered with the creator community and given them a tool to tell stories differently and better in the future. And so in this example, you can get an exclusive interview you can only get on Peacock. You can watch that. You can not watch it if you don't want to do anything. It'll keep playing exactly as normal. And at the end of that interview, it'll bring you straight back into content. And this is a way for us to extend viewing, I think, get a new differentiator, an exclusive differentiator to sort of lean fans even deeper into the content they love. We tested it at BravoCon, a big fan event for Bravo fans a couple of months ago, and it really resonated. So as part of this test, we'll see what the effects are on viewing and on engagement with the service. But I guess what I think is exciting about this is it's really opening a whole new canvas for experimentation and for innovation. And I think it's another element where once you start bringing in multiple feeds, multiple videos, multiple interactions, you need high performance. You need it to work really well. So we'll be leaning on this team to make sure that that is enabled through Lightning.
Okay, that's fantastic. So Jason and Ken, 30 seconds each. I'm sorry about that. So
I'll go very
Jason
fast.
first,
I'm excited for that. And then no, I'm excited. I think with video, it's going to be value. I think I heard someone else talking about value. So it's basically how can you provide the richest, best user experience for a reasonable cost. And so from my perspective is about figuring out new technologies. Lightning is one of them, to develop a better user experience without having to throw massive amounts of hardware and horsepower at a customer, and to extend the life of the devices you have in the field, so you can deliver that experience on as many devices as possible. So that's really, I think, in the future what we're focused on.
Brilliant. Okay, last word to you then, Ken.
And my 30 seconds goes everything they said, plus driving scale of a fully aggregated, integrated platform around the world. That's going to be exciting and challenging. But the second one is the teaser, which is the Sky Smart camera that will be coming out later this year. And people talked about fandom earlier this morning. And it's how do you use that to really enhance the experience? So whether it's watch parties across all of the content that's available on Sky, whether it's enhanced fitness with skeletal tracking, all those kind of things. And I think it's, just to steal John's words, it's a platform for innovation, yeah? It's like we don't know how it's ultimately going to get used, but it is a platform that will surprise us, I'm sure, as we roll it out.
Okay, great stuff. All right, well, thank you all very much for that fabulous insights, and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
panel, the theme of which really, if you look at it, is getting rid of that ugly set-top box. That's kind of what is at the heart of this discussion, really. That set-top box has been around for so long. So we have 3 really diverse operators, and I'm going to get each of them to kind of explain a little bit of their story so you can understand where they're coming from. And then we have a super bright, independent, technical guru who can give us, the real answers to what's going on and all the mistakes the other 3 are making every step of the way. He can comment on that. So we're going to start off in sunny Cyprus. But I learnt it isn't quite so sunny today, though, right? No. So we're going to start in sunny Cyprus with Anna. Because we have, in fact, two operators here who kind of have an app-led strategy, if we can put it that way. But Anna, starting with you, tell us what's led you to this app strategy that you have right now.
Okay, hi. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So we have been having the TV service from 2014, and we have been using set-top boxes. But due to different reasons, but mainly because of currently we're using a platform from Huawei, and we're having set-top boxes from Huawei as well, and they will stop this. They have stopped this business in producing set-top boxes. So we had to think of other ways in providing our service. So one of the reasons was this. So we had to consider different options, and we thought that one option that was also cost-wise for us was to go to TV apps. So we made agreement with Samsung, LG, and we have developed applications for those stores, and we also have an application for the Android TV. So, it's been now 6 months that we have introduced the TV apps. Truth is that we don't do aggressive marketing in turning our customers towards the TV apps. We want to take it slowly. We see the difficulties that we face in implementing the TV apps, and we're trying to, catch up with the problems and solve them and, slowly implement it.
So essentially, the starting point was you were running out of set-top boxes to give to your customers, right? Huawei pulled out of that business. You had a Huawei platform, and so you needed something else. And so you're now offering, an ability to take your service without a set-top box at all.
Yeah, the thing is that, we have an amount of set-top boxes that it's already distributed to our customers. We have some at the warehouse. But at the same time, we thought that by going to TV apps, our customers will be asked to deliver. If a customer chooses to go to TV app, then they will have to deliver back the set-top boxes. So we will reuse them, and we still have a little bit more, time frame to be using them. And this will give us time to think on how to proceed, give us also ideas, and also consider new things to proceed with.
Okay, great. Let's jump now across to the Baltics. And TV. I don't know how many people know about TV3. Really, really interesting company. I think they do everything. They do free-to-air broadcasting. They do satellite-delivered pay TV. But the thing that's growing the fastest right now, as I understand it, is your SVOD streaming service, right? Called Go3. So,
Correct.
So what led you to that, and what are the key technology decisions that you've taken to make that happen?
So talking about Go3, really we are happy with the success what we managed to reach, and within the 3 years the service was launched, we managed to reach more than 400K paying subscribers in 3 countries, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, which are relatively small. So
people need to understand this is a big deal. 400,000 subs in 3 small markets. This is good going.
It's approximately 15% of the market penetration. So this, I think, describes the the challenge what we really are facing now in front of us. You know, growing the service even more.
The rest of us need to learn from you, right?
So what is the success story?
Yeah.
So, of course, what we added 3 years ago, we launched Smart TV applications. So Samsung, LG, Android TV, and also still we kept Android set-top box, thinking that this will be very interesting for customers. But what we actually saw in reality, that Smart TV is something what drives very much the usage. And also from content perspective, so it's not only SVOD, it also has the linear channels. And linear channels on the Smart TV, on like any device, you have the internet, you have a subscription, and here you go. You have the television service, which satisfies your main needs. You have linear, you have SVOD, you have kids, you have international content, you have local original productions, what we managed to reach this year, more than 150 originals. So it's not one point, it's a combination of all things what we do together.
I mean, what I found really interesting as well is that, you know, the content proposition on Go3 is a lot bigger than on the satellite legacy pay TV proposition.
That's right.
So, you know, you're kind of reversing what the normal story would be.
So satellite is legacy technology. It has a hybrid set-top box, but the strategic decision was to develop Go3. So this is our service, what in the group we see has the potential, and that's the future. And that actually answers why this is the content proposition.
Okay, so Daniel, you're the big telco in the room, right? You're the big guy that, you know, the RDK team would say, oh, you know, perfect for us, perfect. We heard all the benefits of RDK before, but now you've made a really interesting decision to go on a new standardized platform that is whisper it to Android. What's behind that decision to go Android?
Okay, so let me give a bit of context where we come from and all the big decisions that we have taken recently. As you know, DT has operation in all of our countries in Europe. We have pay TV services in 10 countries. We have been doing pay TV for many years. So along all of those years, we have delivered TV through every kind of access network, DTH, cable, IPTV, etc. We also have different platforms in our footprint. And 2-3 years ago, we took a big decision that was to let's move all our TV ecosystem to a global and a single product to be able to fully develop our strategy of super aggregation, where we are mixing our content with the best third-party OTT players to develop the best user experience for our customer, and at the end to make Magenta TV the preferred entertainment service for our customer. No? So for implementing this strategy, we took different technical decisions. First is to look for appropriate trade-off between in-house development and partnership with companies. We decided to put all of our in-house effort in the areas that we consider that add more value to our customer, that basically is user experience and devices. For backend, we decided to move to cloud TV backend with our partners to take advantage of the cloud in terms of time to market, improve the SLA in front of our customer, etc.
Is that in place now? Is that cloud backend?
Yeah,
in place
we
now?
are in the middle of this transformation. We have already 3 countries onboarded in this global approach, and more are coming. And regarding set-top box, that was your original question. You know, we wanted to look for a appropriate trade-off between having control to develop our own proposal and user experience, and also having a platform with enough scale to enable us to add application and to get the benefit of the scale. And this is because we selected Android TV as a platform for set-top box.
So just, you know, so we kind of summarize here. So set-top box still a really important part of your strategy. In Cyprus, forced into, kind of pressured into a set-top box less strategy. In the Baltics, you on Go3, you offer an OTT set-top box, right?
That's right.
But most people don't take it.
Yeah, it's on Smart TVs application the usage mainly happens.
So I think you said about 10% take the box?
Even less.
Even less than
less,
10%.
yeah.
Okay.
Which is the completely opposite from Cyprus. Yeah, because we have...
Hold the mic up.
Yeah, our customers, they prefer to stick with the set-top box. It's an IPTV set-top box, though it's not an OTT. But, yeah.
Am I allowed to say the real reason they want to stick to the set-top box?
Yeah.
The real reason is that Cypriots want to get adult content to their TV and can't get it via a Smart TV app.
Over the Smart TVs, yeah.
Stuart, on that subject, adult.
I didn't have warned you about that, sorry.
Yeah, I'm afraid that was news to me. I mean,
on this whole set-top box less approach, what, you know, have you seen others echo these strategies?
it seems to me when you look at this, if you can build a value-added video service and maybe you've got local content, maybe you've got some exclusive content, then you can probably pursue an app-only route. It seems to me, you know, some of the biggest video services in the world are app-only, so clearly it can be done. If you're going for the super aggregator approach, then, and you want to be that default custom, you know, content discovery, then it's really hard to do that without controlling the software. And if you want to control the software, you're probably going to have to provide the hardware. And I think that's really what we're seeing here, is in these different approaches. One is more about aggregation, and I'm going to provide the hardware, and I'm also going to choose a software platform that's going to help me aggregate those apps, you know, help me get those on board. And on the other approaches, I can provide, and although I think the jury's out a little bit on, I can provide that value-added video service without the need for the set-top, which is a bit of a holy grail, really. So, well done.
So that I mean, that seems clear in the sense that you know, a lot of your decision making, Daniel, is driven by the super aggregator strategy.
Yes, for us that is key in our strategy, and you know, you see the current scenario, the only device where we are able to fully develop our experience, what we call the full Magenta experience, are the set-top box, because it's where we have the control, no? And I always say that I would love not to do set-top box, but to be honest, we don't have other alternative today, no? Because if you try to fully develop an experience like ours in other devices, consumer electronic devices or other platforms, you always find some kind of limitations depending on the platform. For example, depending on the platform, in some devices, you cannot do deep linking. Deep linking is something really needed in a really super aggregation experience because you need to move your customer from your UX to a specific app to enjoy the content and to go back. No? Also, this go back is also a problem in many platforms that you don't control. Why? Because they have their own home screen, and for customer, it's bizarre to have two home screens, your telco services and also the platform. There are also many limitations, for example, to have access to key keys on the remote control. If you want to implement your own voice technology, because for us, for example, it's also a specific part of our strategy to having our own Magenta voice engine. No? So at the end, we need to do set-top box. And we will need to do it for many years, I guess.
Is it impossible to do deep linking through a smart TV app?
Well, it depends of the smart TV and your agreements.
Stuart?
I think if you want that frictionless experience, then no. I mean, the TV OEMs, they're trying to build a relationship with customers. We saw them on the graphs. Samsung are making some headway with that. So, and you can understand why they need to do that. They're maintaining a software platform. They're doing their own aggregation, and in some ways, they're creating a competitive environment. So, I think yes, it's pretty much impossible today if you really want a good experience.
Oh, sure. You do a certain amount of aggregation of other.
Yes, we do. We do, and
through an app.
Through an app, and how we try to address it. So, first of all, we try to have all the metadata within our ecosystem. So instead of integrating or trying to have this seamless migration between two different applications, we actually want to have at least metadata within our ecosystem. And then the way video files are being received, we have external CDNs integration, we have channels that we transcode on our side. So it's depending on the partnership, different, we have different agreements. But through such, we always try to find a way how we could offer the best customer experience within our Go3 environment. And we are really trying to find creative solutions, creative approaches, which allows us later on also to maintain, because the more different integrations you have, the maintenance becomes more complex, but still the key is the customer and customer experience, accessing the content, browsing the content, finding the content, and navigating in our application. So this is the approach what we try to have across all the platforms, not only smart TVs, also web and the mobile applications.
Anna, is aggregation on your roadmap?
I'm sorry? Oh.
Anna.
Yes, although not in the the coming years. It's something that we have at the back of our minds, but it's not something that we're planning on having now. Also, we are too small, so I don't think big players are willing to come and talk to us and are willing to make an agreement with us in order to. Perhaps in the near future, yeah, something will change and then we can do that. But
when they realize how nice it is in Cyprus.
Exactly. The thing is that apart from this, although it sounds very promising and very interesting to implement, we have to take into consideration the different options that we will give to our customers, personalization, because, okay, if we will integrate them, then we will have to have a seamless experience. They will have to have a single sign-on. Then we will have to take their likes in the other platforms and then implement it in our platform as well. So yeah, there are many things to consider and to take into consideration. but it's not something that we rule out. Yeah, no.
Daniel, you've done, amongst other device integrations, you've done a pretty deep one with Apple, right, for Apple TV.
Yeah, you know, as I said, we saw the set-top box like the only device where we can develop our full experience. But having said this, we know that our customer also have and use a lot of other devices. So we always try to deliver our best experience in all those devices. Apple TV is one of them, but we already have integrated many other consumer electronic devices in our ecosystem: Apple TV, Fire TV, Smart TVs, etc. No? And always that we see a device relevant for our customer in a specific market, we will try to develop it.
So in that Apple TV case in, I think it was Germany that you've taken it furthest, if I'm a customer in Germany, do I need anything else? If I have the Apple TV and sign up, do I need any other device?
In Apple TV, we have developed our Magenta TV app. It doesn't have exactly the same functionality that we have in the set-top box. It's close, but it's not the fully...
What would I miss?
Part of this super aggregation concept, also our voice. We are working with them, trying to align a bit more. But I would say the experience is not similar with the set-top box, but it's the best that we can get.
So there is a roadmap where it could become at least parity?
We are working with our partners to achieve that parity, not only with Apple, also with others. But we are in that journey.
Stuart, what do you think of the strategy of using a, if you like, a CE, a consumer device, as your set-top box instead?
I think it boils down to the same thing, really. Once you're on somebody else's device, you're actually running on somebody else's software, and that's you're on their platform, and depending on that software, you're going to get varying degrees of control. You're going to get different functionality supported by those different software platforms. So providing that harmonized experience, providing that complete experience becomes quite challenging across all those devices. And I think the other thing that's a big thing to bear in mind is you're on their roadmaps as well. If you've got a desire that the next thing you need to put out is watch parties, and you're going to try and make that, you're going to really struggle to make that happen across all those devices. So that's not to say you still can't build compelling video offer, but there are limitations.
Daniel, are you bumping into limitations in your current strategy?
Sorry?
Are you bumping into limitations and challenges right now in your current strategy?
Well, yes, I think most of the big telcos are trying to do this super aggregation strategy. I would say telcos in general, we are in a very good position because, let's say, TV and super aggregation bundling with our broadband access is the perfect scenario. But obviously, the difficult is how do you do this super aggregation strategy? Here, obviously, you can find a lot of technical and also commercial challenges. This is a journey. I would say we are not yet in the final state that we would like to do, but you find a lot of technical and commercial challenge, as I said before. No, if we speak about technical challenge, metadata is one of the most important. You need to have access to all the metadata of all the different sources that you are aggregating. Not only having access to the metadata, you also have to enrich the metadata, to process the metadata, because at the end you can find the same asset coming from an OTT partner, from a linear TV, or from a recording. Also, you need a platform able to aggregate all those third-party applications, like Android TV, as I said before. Also, you want to move to a deeper UX integration with the third-party OTT partner providers. Watch list, video bookmark, etc. You need also to have an ecosystem, an IT system that allow you to work with many APIs, all of those third-party partners, that is a lot of technical effort. But it's a lot of technical effort, not only for the operator, also for the OTT provider. No? And this is the part that is connected with the commercial agreement and the commercial difficulties. No? Because at the end, when you need to address a negotiation with a big player like Netflix, Amazon, or whatever, at the end they have also to put a lot of technical effort, and always there is a, let's say, a multi-dimension negotiation where you mix commercial aspects, product aspect, because all those integration at the UX level has to, let's say, give value to the both company in a win-to-win agreement, and also a technical approach. No? Unfortunately, there is no magic solution there, but one of the important things that we consider is the scale, and this is because we are moving to this global approach, because leveraging in our scale, we think that will support us with all of these technical and commercial challenges.
Are the biggest issues the technical ones or the commercial business ones?
I would say the commercial ones.
Okay. Someone else's problem. Stuart, who's doing it best right now? You stand back and look at the super aggregator universe.
So super aggregation. I mean,
who's doing that best?
Well, I think that's a great question, actually. So I think Google
That's
are doing.
Why I asked it.
Yeah. I think Google are doing a fantastic job of super aggregation. I mean, they started by aggregating the internet, and now they're ploughing their way through video quite successfully. And the likes of Daniel are leveraging that. But obviously we've talked about commercial relationships, and that's very much a partnership model. So that doesn't work for everyone. The other people that I think are doing a great job and lead the way often on innovation are Comcast and Sky, who were here earlier. I think they really, have a premium experience, and absolutely up there, absolutely world class.
Ostra, who do you admire? Who would you like to move towards?
It's the obvious answer. It's Go3.
Other than yourselves, obviously, because you're the success
I am
story.
not allowed to pick anyone from ourselves, so it would be politically incorrect. So I stick with my answer.
Anna.
Well, tough question. I wouldn't know, really. It's very difficult to make a selection right now, or to just say. I can't say.
Daniel, are you concerned about the potential of other kinds of company to become a gatekeeper in this landscape? So I laid out some of the potential ones in my remarks earlier. So especially maybe the tech guys. Whether it's at the hardware level or the app level, they have the ability to be a super aggregator, to be a gatekeeper. Does that worry you?
Yeah, for sure. This is something that always concerns us, as we are following the market and all the players. With many of them, we are also partners. And as I said before, we are trying to position our own services inside this ecosystem, initially as an app, but obviously being a super aggregator is not to be an app in a market of others. No? But this is the situation that we have today. No? We try, let's say here we are using two strategies. First is to be part of those ecosystems as well as an app. And second, we are working with some of these partners, trying to getting more flexibility for develop our full experience on those ecosystems. No?
Ostra, are you concerned about those guys?
Of course, they are in the same market as we are. But I think in our case, being in Baltics, when the market in general is not very big, and 3 countries, each country has its own language. So I think language is very important in our region, really, to get enough of attention from customers. And we see that some of them are entering the market and localizing the content, but so far I think it's not enough and we have some space yet. So let's see what the future will bring, but language is very important.
Okay, you guys think about questions, so I'll come to you soon. But first, you know, the Sky Glass initiative, Stuart, is in a sense, it's saying, yes, we cannot have full control of everything we want to have if it's someone else's device and someone else's smart TV. The smart TV is really important, so we're going to make our own and keep control of that whole experience by doing that. How much potential do you think that has? Should other people on the panel be considering that kind of strategy?
I don't think it's going to take over in that sense, but I do think it's got a lot of potential. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't like the set-top box. They don't like the whole paradigm of having a dongle or having something around. They do want the innovation. They're already paying for a premium, you know, content discovery experience. Why can't they just have it natively on their TV? There's a good commercial model around it that makes it attractive for the customer. So yeah, I know. I think it's, and we've seen it with the syndication. You know, other operators are looking at this, and they are seeing that this has got some legs. So yeah, I think you know, it's not going to. I don't think it'll be 100%. I think Samsung and LG's TV business is probably safe, but yeah, I think this is a good strategy for some, you know, for the right operator.
Daniel, I mean, the guys who have you know, Foxtel and MultiChoice that are operating in smaller markets than yours, and they have adopted this syndication approach. Why not you?
Yeah, well, Smart TV area is one area that we are really following very, very close, because it's true that we see that a clear trend of our customer and other customer in general to use Smart TVs. And unfortunately, in the Smart TVs today, at least in the biggest one, like Samsung, LG, we are only an app between other apps. So let's say that in Smart TVs, this is bypassing our experience. And obviously today you are an app between other apps, or if you have an agreement, you can be an app between 6 or 7 apps in the home screen. But this is not what we want, no. So I would say that we are trying to our preferred option will be to increase our level of collaboration with this kind of company to develop our full experience to those devices. I don't know, something similar, for example, what we do with Android operator tier. But obviously, if at the end we are not able to achieve what we want to do, we will need to consider an approach similar to Sky Glass, like, I don't know, Magenta Glass in the future, no?
Okay, you heard it first here, folks. Magenta Glass is coming. Who has a question out here? Yep. No, they want to record it. Your wise words.
So one of the things that's really interesting to me is the load on an operator that wants to deliver on a consumer set-top, consumer device, whether it be a stick or a smart TV. Smart TV manufacturers typically have 2 or 3 smart TV operating systems that they sell. There are many brands out there as well. I'm really interested in what the incremental cost is to add support for another smart TV operating system on another television set, and give us an idea of the load that creates on your engineering group.
Who wants to take that?
I will answer. Okay. In order to make an application for the smart TVs, yeah, it was honestly it was a very big struggle in order to, first of all, to include in our agreements the versions of the software of those either Samsung or LG to be supported, and also to include in our agreements the models up to 2017 or later or newer TV sets as well. So this was one part, and then after the agreement was, signed and everything, we had to make the development, to develop the application in order to support those versions. And then the difficulty is also when you create a new version, either to correct something or to include something new, then you have to make all the tests to all the devices, to all the versions. Yeah, this is honestly time-consuming, but it's something that we chose to do because at the moment this is our strategy. So we are heading towards that. So we're doing that. But also I have to add that after completing the test and we say that we are ready, we go live with this version, then we send it to Samsung or LG, and then we have to wait for them to test it, get back their report. If they find something, we have to correct it again, send it back again. So it might take from a week until 3-4 weeks to get released the new version. So yeah, this is something. Yes, yeah. We have to do that, otherwise.
Any other quick comments on that? No?
I think supporting a lot of, we've seen it, when you've got a lot of devices you're supporting in the field, the testing explosion it just grows and grows as that legacy grows.
One last question, anyone? I'm going to ask one more quick, make it short, the answer. What is the next most interesting innovation on your roadmap for each of you? Daniel.
Wow, we have a lot of things, so I don't know if
pick the most exciting one.
Yeah, I would say we have a continued evolution in our user experience, trying to improve all this super aggregation, customer journey, etc. And also we have a lot of innovation. We have a big team of innovation, and we want to pick some of those innovation to the mainstream product. And an area that I see that we will do things in the future is some combination with a camera,
yep.
And trying to develop things around watch together, something with augmented reality, gaming, or other kind of experience. No? This is an area that I think we will do things in the future.
Anna.
Well, the next thing that we plan to introduce in the very near future is the multi-angle view for live sports events. So this is
cool.
This is the next thing that we
cool. Ostra.
And I'm waiting how we will be able to use AI in all our services. So can ChatGPT provide a local description for a movie or something else? So looking forward.
Okay, Stuart.
I'm really excited by Watch Together experiences. I think that's going to be great.
Okay, good. Please thank the panel very much indeed.